the number one objection that I think that a lot of people happen if they're going from mortgage broking to commercial. Aaron, why was the rate so high?
Number one objection handling for that's a really high rate. No, it isn't.
That's a high rate.
Compared to what?
No, it isn't. If you say no, it isn't, 50% of them will relent right then. That's a really high rate. No, it isn't.
I'll tell you what I say, Aaron. I always say compared to what?
Yep.
Compared to what? Your situation is unique. I've given you the best deal on the market for your unique situation. So tell me what I'm comparing it to.
Yeah.
Every time.
So it's interesting because a lot of people look at that and they get scared. That let's follow that through.
Personal loan, right? Personal loan. That's a 19% interest loan. That's really high. No, it isn't. It isn't high. You can go down to one of the biggest 4 banks in the country and you're going to be paying, they're going to tell you you're going to pay 15.75, but everybody seems to get 19%. And your file isn't something that they would even touch. So you're not paying much.
I'm going to spit these at you quickly to get the most out of this. I'll just go to the dealer and they'll sort it out.
Oh, can I have that one?
Take it.
Go.
Okay, so is your dealer going to be there over the course of the loan? And get your dealer to put it in writing, because quite often they quote base rate, not delivery rate to the client, and they do not quote fees and charges. And when they say your car's ready, here's your finance contract, and it's, you know, $30, $40, $50 a month more than what you asked for. I said, what are you going to do then? So you've also got to look at the dealers that are giving away 1%. I love those ones, or 2% finance. I absolutely love them. I go, bring it on, ask those questions. So I go, that's great. 2% is a fabulous interest rate for Nissan Finance, but your situation doesn't meet the criteria because they want 30% deposit, they want a 3-year term, and you can't afford it.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
so,
you can even take that to the next level and say, no dramas. You're paying 2% for the finance, but you're more than likely paying too much for the car.
The full recommended retail with no discount. Exactly.
If it's a new car, you obviously move to the car broker option and say, well, if you want to go pay too much for a car, go right ahead. When was the last time you went out and bought a house? You went to one real estate agency and there was a house in the window and you paid sticker price for it, and you thought that's the only house in the market. If a friend told you that they were going to do that and that's how they bought a house, when you say there's something wrong with your brain,
I'll share one with you guys too. When you buy a house, do you get your finance from the real estate agent?
Exactly.
And that line tends to sort that out pretty quickly, because it helps remind them about the bias, you know, especially if you're working alongside an accounting firm or a professional services firm. You come with a bigger level of trust for a newer industry broker. For people like yourselves, you've been around for so long, you have that trust in there. Let's go to our next one. It's cheaper to borrow against my house.
Should I take that one?
Yeah, you take that one.
Okay. Cheaper to borrow against your house because you want to pay it off over 30 years. The car's only going to last 4 years. Are you sure? I mean, I'm not a financial planner, but are you sure you don't want to just put that in your offset account? And so you're going to spend $60,000 of your equity. So I guess you're not going to get investment property next year. So you're actually going to destroy your own wealth because you want to, what? You want to save $300 this year in interest? Okay. Like, I do home loans too. Let's look at that.
Murray?
Oh, you know what? That's a beauty. You know, I get young people telling me, when I say young, you know, 23, 24, having their first borrow at, you know, 30 or 40 grand. And they're going, well, I can get 3.99 from the dealer.
Mm.
Yeah, okay. And have you got a proven track record? No. All right. Well, you go to the dealer, get declined, and then come back to me. They never go. They stay with me because, as I explained to them, we have a gamut of different lenders to work with. And now's an easier time to really pop your clients back on their backsides in the sense of reality hits. We are in different lending criterias. And quite often I'll get someone say to me, oh, my next door neighbour got 3.99 for his car loan. Well, yeah, did he buy a new car? Was it over $50,000? Is he asset backed? Da, da, da. Which you are none of. You are a renter. You are not borrowing over $50,000 and you've been 3 months in your job. So are we going to find a solution so you can buy this new car, or are you going to go on his dream?
I use fit for purpose too. That seems to work on about 15% of the people that say, yeah, your home loan, it's not fit for purpose. And a lot of them go, oh yeah, you're right.
But as a broker, you need to say it with conviction. Don't say it with a quiver in your voice, because the customer's never going to believe you. And it is very truthful in what you're saying. But if you go, oh, look, I'll see what rate I can get, you've lost it. You need to be having true conviction in what you're talking about, and a very strong no, this is where you fit with lenders because of your profile. But if you come back with, oh, I'll see what I can do, you've just prostituted yourself and lost the deal.
No, great advice. Got to be super confident when you're giving advice. If you're right, if there's even a quiver in your voice, it's over. You need to show. If you pause even a little bit, then one of the things that I look at from a financial planning background, and I think it's actually more important in a lending background. When you can have the very best strategy in the world. Don't get me wrong. I pride myself on coming up with some of the very best strategies out there. They mean absolutely nothing if a client won't take them up. So you can be brilliant at strategy, you can be brilliant at product knowledge, but if you can't look someone in the eye and convince them, hey, this is the best way to go, doesn't matter what the strategy is, they won't take it. Simple as that.
It's not just about convincing the client. You need to have the ability to back yourself.
Well, that's right.
If you can't back yourself, there's no amount of small talk that's going to keep the client with you. And even when you have a client that is a little bit more difficult, you need to, again, slow them down and say, hang on a minute, I'm the one that understands the finance lending criteria. They change all the time. I get that you've financed 2 or 3 cars in the last 20 years, but what you knew 5 years ago has no relevance to today. So let me do all the legwork for you. So you still engage them in a conversation without being a smarty pants. My God, there's times I want to be a smarty pants, but I don't. You just have to, you have to take control again and steer the client to where they actually fit.
I've got to make that point. For a lot of the new to industry brokers, I think it's fantastic because you're not saddled with the knowledge of the last few years. Since COVID, a lot of things have changed. It's actually a very good time to start afresh because a lot of people with more experience will actually come across the wrong way in comparison to yourself with a fresh set of eyes on things.
Going back to what Mari said, I want to do one thing. Going back to what Mari said, you're $10 more a month than the dealer. But this is going back to what Mari said. Really? So when you just told me that in 2 years you're going to sell that car. You think you're going to get a preferential payout figure when you go into the dealership? You think they're going to do that? Go ahead, call them, ask them. Call them right now and ask them, if I want to end this loan in 3 years, are you going to be there to get 80% of the remaining interest stripped away?
But another good piece on that, if someone's quivering over $8 or $10 a month, I then, if they're really giving me a hard time, I end up saying, well, look, you know what, you've got me concerned now under responsible lending. If you can't afford an additional $8 to get the right loan for your situation, I probably really don't want to have you on my books.
Get out of my office. No, I'm kidding. I don't.
No, you say it nicely, Aaron, because they're giving you grief over $8. Are you going to redo the approval, take another hour or so, redocument? And so I just come back to it. You know what? Really? I really probably shouldn't be doing this deal if $8 is affecting you.
Actually, and firing a customer, we call it firing a customer in the office. Firing a customer, there's no better way. Because if they're trying to detach themselves from you, you might as well fire them. First, no one likes to be fired. So they'll let you fight to remain your customer.
Yeah.
If you say, well, look, like what Mari just said, if $8 is the be all end all, I think maybe you shouldn't even be getting this car loan. And then they'll start coming up with reasons why, no, I should have, I can afford it. Like, oh, okay. Well,
guys, we've got 5 more minutes. If you've got another objection you'd like our team of experts to cover, feel free. I'm gonna throw one last one if there's no one else, but hey, feel free. We'd love to see some of your objections that you might have had or you're worried about. Here's an interesting one, because I think there's been a bit of a skew to asset finance. And hey, look, don't get me wrong, it's obviously we all on this call love asset finance. But here's a general one for commercial lending, not just for asset finance. I don't want to provide my financials.
Okay. We can do it. We can do it without financials. It's going to be more.
Well, yeah.
It's going to be more. But okay, you're the customer. Do you want to tell me why? You want to tell me, I mean, like, I'm not a lender. So do you want to explain it why to me? Or are you telling me that your main criteria right now is you don't want to show financials? I'll go find you someone who'll do it.
How do you look at that one, Mari? I'm very interested.
Well, ultimately, there's a reason. And as Aaron said, you know, we're not the financiers, but tell us everything, you know, tell us all the speed bumps, the bumps and blisters, and the pain points of why you don't want to give us financials. It's a dead given. One, they suck. Or two,
technical term. Thanks, Mari.
I've got a good accountant. I've got a good accountant.
Oh, my accountant's so brilliant, I'm not paying tax, or I haven't lodged my tax return. So we already know why to a point. So then you come back with, look, we are solution driven. So if you want to do a deal with no financials, we will find that solution for you. But ultimately, if you want someone to lend you $500,000 or $1.5 million with no proof of income, you will be paying for it. How much do you want to pay?
Yeah, I like the way you turn that back. I'm big on getting my financials, and the reason I'm big on getting a copy of them regardless is, it's funny, people say their financials suck. Sorry, you said financials suck. Look, for those people on the call, bank statements have become the new black when it comes to servicing anyway. So the next question I would probably ask is, you know, can I have a look at your bank statements?
Are you trading? Are you trading?
Yeah, look, removing the bias to asset finance, it is really worth pushing back on getting the set. Maybe it's just effort. Maybe they just can't be bothered. Maybe it's, you know, if it's all too hard, do you want me to just have a chat to your accountant? And there you've got an opportunity to then speak to the accountant, and maybe you've got a referral source there as well. You get a double benefit of the conversation. I suppose
we have to be very mindful as brokers. Once we've seen the financials, we can't unsee them. So we have to be very careful, because if you are given a set of financials and then you go and write a low doc or no financials or what have you, and it comes to bite you in the ass, and the client says, I provided my financials, they knew I could not afford this. So I think we really have to be very, very mindful what rabbit hole we're going down. If the client has got that much pushback on not wanting to show the financials, I don't want to see them.
In a resi space, I couldn't agree more. That's an interesting one from my perspective, obviously, because my focus is only commercial. So as a
Aaron, you have to agree. Once you see a set of financials, you can't
unsee them. You can't unsee them. I suppose there's some wiggle room in business where you could say, well, these are your 2019s. You haven't done your 2020s yet. This is from 2 years ago. What's your trading like today? And I'll go to what Chris is saying. Today, a lender will say, oh, so you're doing really well today. Let's see your bank statements. Let's see if it's true, you know, and I suppose BAS statements is another example of that. Is a BAS statement better than a set of from 2019 financials? Is two BAS statements, recent BAS statements, better and more relevant data than 2019 financials? I would say what you just said, 80% of the time, absolutely. You know, you'd have to look at the underlying numbers between the two and compare them and all the rest of it. But if your turnover is a lot better in the last two BAS statements than what's on your 2019 financials, you can do a bit of interpolation. Or you're not doing it, but if the client's telling you, yes, my turnover is double what it used to be, and we got a little bit more efficient at it, so I'm actually making 3 times what I used to make.
But if they're giving us 2020s and we see,
yeah, that's tough.
We've got to be very mindful. So I think industry brokers need to understand Once you've seen something, you can't unsee it. And if they're sending you emails, it's on the record. So you just have to be, you need to really probably interview the client quite heavily on why, on the whys, and what can be proven.
That's a great point, and we've done really well. Guys, really appreciate your time. Aaron, Murray, you know it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much. For those people that have stuck around, I know it's been a long double session. I hope you've got a lot out of it. I know I've certainly enjoyed being part of it. And that is the end of Broker Illuminati for 2020. Thank you very much. For those people that enjoyed it, make sure you tell people, get online. The hashtag on LinkedIn is hashtag Broker Illuminati. And there's many people to thank once I take a breath.
Well, thank you for doing it again. It's something else that you do this every year. So
thanks, Aaron.
Thanks for everyone turning up. That's great.
Thanks again, Mari. Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening. Thanks again.